If somebody is different from you, that's not something you criticize, that's something that you appreciate. Senator Joe Biden is pretty clean and articulate for a white guy. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. I do that every day. Asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It shows you have the courage to admit when you don't know something and to learn something new. It betrays a poverty of ambition if all you think about is what goods you can buy instead of what good you can do. The biggest challenge, I think, is always maintaining your moral compass. Starting today, we must pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and begin again the work of remaking America. When ignorant folks want to advertise their ignorance, you don't really have to do anything, you just let them talk. Faith doesn't mean that you don't have doubts. Just because we have the best hammer does not mean that every problem is a nail. I will promise you this, that if we have not gotten our troops out by the time I am president, it is the first thing I will do. I will get our troops home, we will bring an end to this war. You can take that to the bank. Let it be said to our children's children that when we were tested we refused to let this journey end, that we didn't turn our back nor did we falter, and with eyes fixed on the horizon and God's grace upon us, we carried forth that great gift of freedom and delivered it safely to future generations. At the dawn of the 21st century, where knowledge is literally power, where it unlocks the gates of opportunity and success, we all have responsibilities as parents, as librarians, as educators, as politicians, and as citizens to instill in our children a love of reading so that we can give them a chance to fulfill their dreams. Change is never easy but always possible. When times get tough, we don't give up. We get up. Keep exploring. Keep dreaming. Keep asking why. Don't settle for what you already know. Never stop believing in the power of your ideas, your imagination, your hard work to change the world. You can't let your failures define you. You have to let your failures teach you. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. We are reminded that, in the fleeting time we have on this earth, what matters is not wealth or status or power or fame, but rather how well we have loved and what small part we have played in making the lives of other people better. Robin Williams was an airman, a doctor, a genie, a nanny, a president, a professor, a bangarang Peter Pan, and everything in between. But he was one of a kind. He arrived in our lives as an alien, but he ended up touching every element of the human spirit. The day I'm inaugurated, this country looks at itself differently and the world looks at America differently. If you believe that we've got to heal America and we've got to repair our standing in the world, then I think my supporters believe that I am a messenger who can deliver that message around the world in a way that no other candidate can do. As the world's largest economy and second largest carbon emitter, as a country with unsurpassed ability to drive innovation and scientific breakthroughs, as the country that people around the world continue to look to in times of crisis, we've got a vital role to play. We can't stand on the sidelines. We've got a unique responsibility. I'm less interested in how we label ourselves. I'm more interested in how we treat each other. And if we're treating each other right, then I can be African American, I can be multiracial, I can be you name it. What matters is, am I showing people respect, am I caring for other people? The laws of our land are catching up to the fundamental truth that millions of Americans hold in our hearts. When all Americans are treated as equal, no matter who they are or whom they love, we are all more free. I believe deeply that we cannot solve the challenges of your time unless we solve them together, unless we perfect our union by understanding that we may have different stories, but we hold common hopes, that we may not look the same and we may not have come from the same place, but we all want to move in the same direction, towards a better future for our children and our grandchildren. This belief comes from my unyielding faith in the decency and generosity of the American people. If we are truly created equal, then surely the love we commit to one another must be equal as well. It is time to do away with workplace policies that belong in a Mad Men episode. The truth is that America has been closely divided politically for quite some time. That was reflected in some of the challenges I had with the Republican Congress. The things that led me to run for office, trying to figure out how we create an economy where everybody's got a fair shot and if you work hard, you can achieve your dreams. Obviously I'm grayer, a few more wrinkles. One of the things I'm proud about is that I think my basic character and outlook actually have not changed much. And people who are closest to me will tell you that the guy who came here is the same guy who's leaving. There's not a liberal America and a conservative America, there's the United States of America. Our destiny is not written for us, but by us. If you're looking for the safe choice, you shouldn't be supporting a black guy named Barack Obama to be the next leader of the free world. The best way to not feel hopeless is to get up and do something. Don't wait for good things to happen to you. If you go out and make some good things happen, you will fill the world with hope, you will fill yourself with hope. The strongest democracies flourish from frequent and lively debate, but they endure when people of every background and belief find a way to set aside smaller differences in service of a greater purpose. This is something that I'm sure I'd have serious debates with my fellow Christians about. I think that the difficult thing about any religion, including Christianity, is that at some level there is a call to evangelize and proselytize. There's the belief, certainly in some quarters, that people haven't embraced Jesus Christ as their personal savior, that they're going to hell. Generally, the Constitution is a charter of negative liberties, says what the states can't do to you, says what the federal government can't do to you. But it doesn't say what the state or federal government must do on your behalf. What is important is that we make sure to work together, that we understand our strength comes from unity and not division. Greatness is never free, it must be earned. No party has a monopoly on wisdom. No democracy works without compromise. But when Governor Romney and his allies in Congress tell us we can somehow lower our deficit by spending trillions more on new tax breaks for the wealthy, well, you do the math. I refuse to go along with that. And as long as I'm president, I never will. But you see, a rich country like America can perhaps afford to be stupid. We have Jews, Muslims, Hindus, atheists, agnostics, Buddhists, and their own path to grace is one that we have to revere and respect as much as our own. If we can make sure that young boys starting at the age of 3 or 4 already knows their colors and their letters and are getting good preschool, and by the time they get into school they've got a good teacher and are getting the support that they need and are able to keep up with their classwork, that is going to do more to reduce the incarceration rate at the same time, obviously, as it increases the college enrollment rate. I think it was not a bad idea to wrap Barack Obama in the mantle of Teddy Roosevelt. He has been assuming a sort of progressive mantle, and he ticked off some large and systemic problems that this country faces. Few artists have influenced the sound and trajectory of popular music more distinctly or touched quite so many people with their talent. A strong spirit transcends rules, Prince once said, and nobody's spirit was stronger, bolder, or more creative. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family, his band, and all who loved him. It's important to make sure that we're talking with each other in a way that heals, not in a way that wounds. Barack Obama, 44th U.S. President. And I've said this all across the country when I talk to parents about education, government has to fulfill its obligations to fund education, but parents have to do their job too. We've got to turn off the TV set, we've got to put away the video game, and we have to tell our children that education is not a passive activity, you have to be actively engaged in it. If we encourage that attitude and our community is enforcing it, I have no doubt we can compete with anybody in the world. Ramadan is a celebration of a faith known for great diversity and racial equality. Look at Chancellor Angela Merkel. Her personal story helps to tell a story of incredible achievement that the German people have embarked on, and I think is something that you should be very proud of. We cannot allow internet service providers to restrict the best access or to pick winners and losers in the online marketplace for services and ideas. I have made it clear that we will hunt down terrorists who threaten our country, wherever they are. That means I will not hesitate to take action against ISIL in Syria, as well as Iraq. This is a core principle of my presidency: if you threaten America, you will find no safe haven. We can't afford more top-down economics. What we need are policies that will grow and strengthen the middle class. I don't want you folks to do a lot of talking. Just shut up and get out of the way. I think, the argument sometimes that I've had with folks who are much more interested in sort of race-specific programs is less an argument about what is practically achievable and sometimes maybe more an argument of we want society to see what's happened and internalize it and answer it in demonstrable ways. And those impulses I very much understand. We are not at war with Islam. We are at war with people who have perverted Islam. American citizenship captures the enduring idea that this country only works when we accept certain obligations to one another and to future generations. I put forward a budget of what I called a middle-class economics that continues to be fiscally prudent but makes necessary investments for us to continue the economic momentum and job growth. Our resources may be finite, but our will is infinite, and I am confident that if we come together and summon that great American spirit once again, we will meet the challenges of our time and write the next great chapter in our American story. Sticking your head in the sand might make you feel safer, but it's not going to protect you from the coming storm. Today we are engaged in a deadly global struggle for those who would intimidate, torture, and murder people for exercising the most basic freedoms. If we are to win this struggle and spread those freedoms, we must keep our own moral compass pointed in a true direction. We cannot drill our way out of our addiction to oil. I think we need missile defense. But I want to make sure it works, that it's cost-effective, that the technologies are operable, that it's our best possible strategy, and that hasn't been shown. All I care about is making sure that I leave behind an America that is stronger, more prosperous, more stable, more secure than it was when I came into office, and that's going to continue to drive me. So long as I'm Commander-in-Chief, we will sustain the strongest military the world has ever known. When you take off the uniform, we will serve you as well as you've served us, because no one who fights for this country should have to fight for a job, or a roof over their head, or the care that they need when they come home. I want to express our grief and condolences to the families of 2 hostages, one American, Dr. Warren Weinstein, and an Italian Giovanni Laporto, who were tragically killed in a U.S. counterterrorism operation. I want to reduce America's deficit by cutting spending that we don't need, but also by asking the wealthy to do a little bit more so that we can invest in things like research and technology that are the key to a 21st century economy. We will stand against violence and intimidation. We will stand for the rights and dignity of all human beings. It's not that I want to punish your success. I want to make sure that everybody who is behind you, that they've got a chance for success too. My attitude is that if the economy's good for folks from the bottom up, it's gonna be good for everybody. I think when you spread the wealth around, it's good for everybody. The Greek people are entrepreneurial. We all know a lot of people who died in 9/11, the World Trade Center. A lot of money funding that mission is directly tied from the 9/11 Commission, directly tied to Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas. The countries who out-educate us today will outcompete us tomorrow. I am not in favor of concealed weapons. I think that creates a potential atmosphere where more innocent people could get shot during altercations. For the first time, preventing nuclear proliferation and nuclear terrorism is now at the top of America's nuclear agenda. Hope is not blind optimism. It's not ignoring the enormity of the task ahead or the roadblocks that stand in our path. It's not sitting on the sidelines or shirking from a fight. Hope is that thing inside us that insists, despite all evidence to the contrary, that something better awaits us if we have the courage to reach for it, and to work for it, and to fight for it. Hope is the belief that destiny will not be written for us, but by us, by the men and women who are not content to settle for the world as it is, who have the courage to remake the world as it should be. We need to teach our kids that it's not just the winner of the Super Bowl who deserves to be celebrated, but the winner of the science fair. I believe in the redemptive death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. It's particularly important that we reach out to everybody in our countries, those who feel disaffected, those who feel left behind by globalization, and address their concerns in constructive ways as opposed to more destructive ways. I know what the counterterrorism feels like because I was there. But I also operated within limits. And within the United States government, we've decided long ago that there are limits on what we're going to do in the war against terrorism. You can't rest on your laurels. Your own body of work is yet to come. We are not entitled to success, we have to earn it. Our job is not to ask that God respond to our notion of truth. Our job is to be true to Him, high His word and His commandments, and we should assume humbly that we're confused and don't always know what we're doing, and we're staggering and stumbling towards Him, and have some humility in that process. America's nurses are the beating heart of our medical system. I believe in American exceptionalism, just as I suspect that the Brits believe in British exceptionalism and the Greeks believe in Greek exceptionalism. For we, the people, understand that our country cannot succeed when a shrinking few do very well and a growing many barely make it. As the United States begins a new chapter in our relationship with Cuba, we hope it will create an environment that improves the lives of the Cuban people, not because it is imposed by us, the United States, but through the talent and ingenuity and aspirations, and the conversations among Cubans from all walks of life so they can decide what the best course is for their prosperity. I think that the Democrats can be successful nationally in the future if we are able to capture some of the complexity of people's lives right now. When we start using religion as a bludgeon in politics, when we start questioning other people's faith, we start using religion to divide, instead of bring the country together, then I think we've got a problem. In order to make the tough decisions, we have to know what our values are and who we're fighting for and our priorities, and if we are spending $300 billion on tax cuts for people who don't need them and weren't even asking for them, and we are leaving out health care which is crushing on people all across the country, then I think we have made a bad decision, and I want to make sure we're not shortchanging our long-term priorities.